Hi, my name is Gavin Forbes. I'm a theology major here at Union College, and this is my story. When I was in 8th grade, I made the claim to myself that God is not real, and that is where our story begins. Back then, I wasn't the suave guy you see in front of yourself right now. In fact, I was very nervous. Girls were scary, and everybody that wasn't me hated me. You know, it's 8th grade, you just want to die. So in this time, I met this one girl, and she was, at that point, the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my entire life. But she was not a good person. She was a very bad person. And with the previous knowledge that I had just told you, she knew that I didn't know anything. So what she would often do is she would constantly forget her lunch, so I would have to give her my lunch. She would treat me like a dog in some ways. She would belittle me, push down my spirits, in all hopes that one day I might hold her hand or something like that. And this took a toll on me for a while. And not only that, all the while she's telling me this entire time, if God is real, then why do you feel the way you do? If God is real, then why are people around you suffering? If God is a loving God, then why is there pain in the world? If God is all-knowing, why did he create Lucifer? Questions like that, where 8th grade me really had no way of figuring this out. So the question is, how did me from 8th grade, who claimed and knew for a fact that there was no God, come to be here before you today, telling you that I'm hopefully going to be a pastor one day? It all was thanks to one of my youth pastors at my church. His name is Mark Reams, my first spiritual mentor, fantastic guy. He came up to me and he said, Gavin, there's this trip that I want you to go on. It's called Mountaintop. And I looked at him and I said, there is no way that I'm going to this trip because there is no God, so there's no point. And thankfully, he went behind my back and told my parents, and they were like, yes, of course, he would love to go on this trip. And so I went on this trip. It was a week where we went from Florida to North Carolina, and we stayed in this house on a mountain. And on this retreat, I had myself a mountaintop experience. During this, we read a book called God's at War by Kyle Idleman. Now, if you know me, you know Kyle Idleman is one of my favorite authors of all time. And that is because he writes this book and almost every other book, and every book I've read by him changed my life. Like, it's fantastic. And this is the pivotal moment. In this book, he talks about an emptiness inside of all of us. And that emptiness I was feeling in that moment especially, that there is this God-shaped hole. It's like a puzzle piece that we try to fill with all these things. At the time for me, it was this girl and pornography. Those were the two big things that I kept trying to stuff, and it wasn't fulfilling. This can be anything for you. It can be food, it could be money, it could be work, it could be family, it can be a relationship, whether it's good or bad, it could be friends. Whatever it is, we try to fill this emptiness that is inside of us with this hole. We are all worshiping something, but we are not truly fulfilled until we put God into that hole. And once I discovered that, I looked out over this vast mountaintop, and I looked around, and I noticed I am nothing. I am nothing compared to this mountain, compared to this country, compared to this world. But God sent his son down to die for me and for you. And if I'm nothing, and he came down, the God of everything came down to die for me, then I must really be someone. The God of love found me on that mountaintop and showed me what it means to be whole again. And from that moment, life has been smooth sailing. I'm lying, it hasn't been. It's gotten only worse from there. But the point and the main difference is that God is in control. So now when I look forward or I'm in my current situation and something bad is happening, I can look back in the past and see the promises that he has fulfilled back then and claim them for the future. I know what it's like to struggle on your school bill. I know what it's like to struggle with addiction. I know what it's like to not know what the future holds. I know what it's like to lose someone that you really care about. I know what that's like. But the difference is that I also know that God is in control of everything that happens. And even though God doesn't want us to suffer, and when we suffer and we're going through hardships that's not from God, he definitely uses those to glorify his name. And that is my story in a nutshell. That's where it started. Regarding this girl, I texted her and I was like, hey, this isn't a really good relationship. I don't think we should continue being friends. And she blew up on me, calling me names that will get me expelled if I say them right now. And while this was happening, I've never experienced something like that. I was at peace with my decision. It wasn't easy, but I was at peace with what was happening. It was very uncomfortable, but I was at peace. And since that moment at the mountaintop, I've been running and striving for peace. Because if it's from peace, if it's peaceful, it's from God. More or less, that's why I'm here right now. If you want to tell your story, reach out to someone on Campus Ministries, and they'll make it happen. Thank you for listening.